Why does it matter if we feel like we're making progress towards a goal? And why do we care about a sense of belonging? And what does dieting have to do with any of our human needs besides the food part? Now, I already know you can list out our most basic human needs because they're the same for all of us, right? Everyone needs enough food, water, shelter, safety. But once the basics are covered, we start to need other things. And as humans, we'll do whatever we can in this life to try to get them. And here's the important part. It can also explain why dieting has played such an important role in your life and why it feels so freaking hard to let it go. And if you're new here, my name is Cara. I'm a dietitian who uses a non-diet approach, and this is one of the ways to help you think about what your values really are and how to get your life to line up with them a little bit better. But first, we're going to use this little laminated card to help us out. We're going to talk about some important human needs, and I have had this for years. I keep it on my desk at all times because I consider it essential at this point. But as we think about this list of important human needs, I want you to ask yourself, what do you need that you're not getting? What purpose does your diet have? What is it providing for you? What need is being met? I'm about to share some examples, and I think this will really illustrate exactly what I mean when I say this will forever change the way you think about food and how and why you eat. Let's start with an easy one, guidance. That's because as humans, we need to feel a sense of direction. We want to be directed. That's part of why we seek out experts or consult with other people if we're not sure what to do. And to be honest, when we're feeling really confused or overwhelmed, we get that sense of, I truly don't care what it is at this point, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I think that's where diet culture has been really clever about meeting that need. We see this with influencers and pseudoscience and, doctors who maybe only got one nutrition course during their entire time in medical school. They can serve that need. And all might be seemingly fine until we realize we're being misguided. In reality, the best source for nutrition information are the true nutrition experts, which are registered dietitians. But we can't forget that you have a ton of knowledge. You've got this lived experience that can really inform what it is you need and how you can get those needs met. So don't forget to really trust yourself and remember everything that you've learned about it up until this point. All right, so here's another one, feeling competent and masterful in some area. And, depending on your history with cooking and exercise and dieting, in all likelihood, you've mastered some of these skills. You probably feel at the very least competent, if not really confident in some of these areas. And it feels good, right? Like, I don't think any of us wake up in the morning thinking, I'd love to go out there and just be bad at everything. I want to feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. So you might cling really tightly to the same diet you've always done, or at least feel, hesitance about trying anything different, because at the very least, that's a guaranteed way to feel like you're already familiar with something and have this baseline level of competence. It can be really intimidating and feel really chaotic to have to start over at the beginning or feel like a total novice. It's almost like we pushed you out of a plane with no parachute and you're flailing in this free fall. But here's an important reminder I can offer you. You are not a total beginner at knowing how to eat. You were born knowing how to eat. And it wasn't until diet culture got you all f***ed up that you lost touch with that. But you knew how to eat before and you can relearn how to eat again. And with the right support, which would be like the parachute in this example, you won't feel like you're free falling forever. All right, this next one is a big one. It's the attention of others. And, weight loss in and of itself brings a ton of attention your way. It is serving that important human need. People will notice you and compliment you and congratulate you and encourage you to keep it going. And that can feel really validating because that's another important human need. We all need to feel a sense of validation at some point in this life. But we can't forget about the other ways we gain attention while we're dieting. This might be as simple as being greeted and acknowledged every time you walk into the gym, or maybe it's someone telling you how good you look and knowing they're attracted to you. And unfortunately, I think this happens a lot. Sometimes it's praise from a parent or someone you care about who's always implied that you're more worthy of their love when you're thin. To give that up would be to ignore that important human need, and that is not at all what I'm asking you to do. I'm simply asking if you can imagine a way to replace that with something that honors your health and happiness in a way that dieting doesn't. Think of it as kind of a lateral move. In an ideal perfect world, we would always have exactly what we need to meet those needs as soon as they show up, but I'm here living in the real world, and I know you are too, so sometimes we just have to do our best with what we have at the time. I remember this really clicked for me when I was talking with a client. She had been referred to me by her doctor who had, concerns about how much fast food she was eating and kind of scared her into making an appointment. So she did. And as we sat down and started talking, I just asked her to share a little bit more about her routine. She told me that she's a single parent working 2 jobs. And after she'd leave her first job, she would pick up her kids and drop them off with a family member and then leave to go to her second job. On the way, I'm sure you've seen these areas where it's just fast food restaurant one after another, and she would pull into one of them to be able to eat dinner. And she told me that if she had enough time, she liked to eat in her car and listen to some music. And as we started to peel back the layers in this conversation, we uncovered a hidden truth, which is there was absolutely nothing wrong or bad about her habit of eating fast food. And I'll tell you exactly why. She didn't have time to cook or prep a meal, and it was really important that she had something for dinner because she's headed off to her second shift. She'd be working at least a few more hours. And that break that she got in her car listening to music served another important human need, which is rest and recovery. So for the rest of the session, I shared some basic nutrition, making sure she had enough protein, a way to stay hydrated, or if there's a chance to get a vegetable, maybe do that. But I could reassure her that very little needed to change. She was already doing a good job taking care of herself and meeting those important human needs in whatever way she could. And here's where this connects to the values piece. In many ways, she was already living out her values. She really valued being able to provide for her family. She took pride in being able to do that. She also valued her health because she had that appointment with her doctor and followed their referral to book a session with me. And understandably, she valued alone time. Sometimes those minutes sitting in her car were the only breaks she would get from her young kids or hectic jobs. Now, it's clear that values have a major influence on how we live our lives and what we believe. So this is why it's so important to get familiar with the ones that are most important to you. For example, if we value perseverance and commitment, it means we take a lot of pride in working hard and we want something to show for it. We want to meet that need of making progress towards a goal and feeling a sense of accomplishment. But that can get really tricky if the only metric of success is the number on the scale. So if you're a goal-oriented person like that, you might try thinking about some of the ways you can measure success that have nothing to do with dieting. Another example, many of us value appreciation and gratitude or compassion, and often it feels much easier to extend that to other people. But if that's one of your values, can you think of ways to extend that same appreciation, gratitude, or compassion towards yourself and your right here, right now body? And if we value honesty and integrity, it means we want to be truthful and genuine and sincere. But if you've spent any amount of time around fad diets, you know the people that come up with those are usually anything but. We can also look to some of the science behind why diets don't work and ask ourselves, does it line up with our values to expect them to be something they're not? And if we value justice and fairness, it means we want everyone to be treated equally and equitably. But once we learn how diet culture is rooted in anti-fatness and anti-blackness and operates as a really oppressive system, it suddenly may not feel like we're upholding those values if we stay entrenched in diet culture. Now, of course, this is not an exhaustive list of everything you might value, but if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I always recommend some journaling. So get out a piece of paper or open a note in your phone and just spend a little time reflecting on this. Your values can and probably will change over time, and I'll just say this. It is really hard to value anything else if the only thing you value is a thin body. So I hope this has been a helpful guide for identifying what you really need and what your most important values are. I know sometimes it can feel like we need these drastic changes in our lives, but just think of those lateral moves. It doesn't always have to be totally life-changing. And the next time you're struggling with something like food guilt or body image or feeling shaky in your recovery, just think of these lists, and I think it will truly change the way you think about food and how and why you eat. I'm Cara, and I'm the dietitian behind Street Smart Nutrition, and this channel is all about fearlessly nourishing meals and healing our relationship with food using a non-diet approach. So if that sounds like something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon.